Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and the big question I know many people have is whether Bryan Kohberger, the suspect of the Idaho 4, did he know the victims? Well, some new information is coming in from the lawyer of the families. I wanted to bring in Louis Lecca over from Nerd Report. Good to see you, my man. You've been covering this case really well. If you guys haven't followed Nerd Report, please go give him a follow because he's on top of it like nobody else. But Louis, thank you for being here. I wanted to ask this question because I saw this morning that one of the family's lawyers is now saying no, that he did not know them. The criminology PhD student is accused of entering the home of the group of sleeping University of Idaho undergrads on November 13th. Obviously, we've also claimed due to the affidavit that he had been following them, stalking them for a while. But Shanon Gray, attorney for Goncalves' parents, says no one knew about Kohberger before the incident. Any information any of the families gather regarding connections to any of the victims will be turned over to Moscow police. However, they are making it clear that they do not believe that he knew them. He had been stalking them over 12 times prior to the incident, and then hours afterwards, he showed up again. They tracked his phone back to the crime scene. It's going to be hard for him to justify how that happened. While he was stalking them, it's very unclear still as to where all this came from. He's facing 4 charges of first degree, another felony, a burglary charge, etc., entering the home with an intent. Some experts have speculated that the burglary charge could be an indication that he didn't know the victims. However, they know burglary charges can still be filed if the intruder is not a stranger. Burglary charge allows the prosecution to introduce evidence of the unlawful entry into the house. There is no clear evidence of motive, or at least not yet. So state wants to show that Kohberger wasn't there legitimately, and there's no reason for his DNA to be there. Now, Louis, I want to get your thoughts as well, because obviously the family has been searching for this connection to Bryan. It's the biggest question I think we still have as to motive and to why. Was there an incident that happened that rubbed him the wrong way? Why did he select these people at random? It's a question that's been out there. There's a few other articles I have here that can sort of answer this question, but it does seem definitively that the family is saying no. From what we've gathered so far, they didn't know each other. They didn't know of Bryan. I want to know your thoughts. You've been following this case very closely. What is your theory? Do you think that Bryan knew the victims?
I think he knew of them, but I don't think he was a friend, like hanging out with them, because he is about 10 years older. He's 28. Not really 10 years, but 7 or 8 years older than them. He looks more, I was going to say mature, but older than them. He'd be an oddball out. So I don't think he knew them in that way where they hung out and stuff. But I do feel that the information we're getting from Kaylee Goncalves' family is accurate, because they have been a little bit, they've been more open than the other parents, a little bit more excited with the press and stuff. And it's totally fine, because they're grieving. They're trying to get ahead of it. And I don't know if this information should actually be out, but I do believe that what they're saying is accurate to the extent that personally, friends, hang out, let's go to the movies. No. Did he know of them? Yes. I think he knew of them. Maybe the names and everything like that. As far as like a stalker will be concerned, maybe make up a relationship in his brain and stuff like that. So,
yeah, it is true that this family definitely is speaking up the most. There's the most outspoken, which has pros and cons to it. But yeah, as we go through and learn more, the sister has been out there speaking as well. But asked about it, regarding whether there were any other connections or information linking Kohberger to her sister, Kaylee, or any of the victims. They said, look, I think we're still going to keep looking. I've had a lot of people reach out with, Instagram posts or even Spotify lists, et cetera, of connections that they've been able to find. And those are super valuable. All those go over to the Moscow police, as well as the Idaho State Police and the FBI, because nothing is insignificant at this point and everything is being looked through. She's been speaking to Brian Enton and others out there, but the father, Steve, made similar remarks researching possible connections to Kohberger, who was arrested on the 30th, saying that, here was the link, I'm biased, but if he got to know my daughter, I would think it would be impossible for you to hurt her. So I think a little bit of us all kind of feel like this was somebody who didn't have a chance to meet her, talk to her, get to know her, because she was a very likable person and she didn't have a mean bone in her body. I think there's a little comfort knowing this person wasn't somebody she trusted and loved. yeah, I mean, that would make it worse, obviously, to know that she was being used and tricked by somebody else. I mean, there's no way to make this better or worse, but quoting her own father, I agree. There's at least it wasn't something she did wrong. This was something that was just completely random, which is just awful in its own way, right? But again, I agree. Like it does feel like we still are waiting to uncover or waiting for the information that's going to connect these one or some of these victims to Bryan. I just feel like the randomness is too random. I know that's, something that happens in these types of cases, but do you concur that there must have been some sort of interaction or jealousy at school or something that must have happened where he ID'd these people and sort of made a decision to follow them and choose them, Lewis?
Well, I do think there is a connection, and my theory is there's probably two, and the first one a little looser. I'm not convinced 100%, or in the high 90s, is that there was some sort of rejection, maybe trying to date one of these ladies, maybe, and his ego got in there. But my number two theory is the criminology. He wanted to be good at it, what he did. He wanted to be the best of the best in criminology. That's his PhD. That's his study. So that's what he wanted to be on the other side, not the investigator, but actually the criminal. That is big for me, and I feel like that's going to come out. And that's why this case has intrigued so many people, because there's probably not a connection at all. It's just a random, I'm going to pick these four or this group of people. Maybe it was Kaylee Goncalves, the main target, and the other four just happened to be there. That's what's crazy. Now, he does have a court date tomorrow, so I encourage everybody to subscribe to Popcorn Planet, because hopefully we'll have an update on that. Just to let you know, it's constantly evolving, and I'm sure Andy's going to be bringing in the latest. So,
yeah, I'm hitting hit that subscribe up there. Make sure you also follow Nerd Report, because together we are covering this case the best we can. And Lewis was on this, but further, there was one other piece here I wanted to bring up. He was apparently, according to police sources, this comes from People, but he was sort of commenting to the officers as he was, taken in. He seemed really nervous. Police source who was involved in the process tells People he was narrating to himself everything that was happening. At one point, he was saying something to himself like, "I'm fine, this is okay." Like he was reassuring himself that this whole thing wasn't awful. Kohberger was read his Miranda rights during his arrest and cannot be questioned about the case without an attorney present. He didn't speak directly to officers about the case, but the police source says he did make an offhand comment about, he did say it's really sad what happened to them, but he didn't say anything more, the source says. He's smarter than that. It's interesting. Again, if this source is to be believed, right, it's almost, if this is the case and he did it, right, a lot of ifs, but if he did, it's almost as if he was like on purpose trying to like say things to the officers to try to create doubt even when he was arrested, which to me just feels strange. If I was being wrongfully accused of such a crime, Lewis, I think I'd be a lot more distraught personally and vocal and, loud and whatnot than just sort of, it's going to be okay. Yeah. It's really sad what happened to those people. It just feels off. It almost feels forced in a way. What do you think on that?
Separation of two personalities, having two personalities. I feel a defense. That's maybe his defense. I have several personalities. The boogeyman one kicked in during that night. It wasn't really me. It's my split personality. I could see that starting to come in here. There's way too many things that point at the direction of Kohberger being the person who did it. Let's put it that way. Hopefully, man, look, for his sake, I hope he didn't. I'm going to be fine if they find unconditional evidence that it was not him. There was some sort of freak accident, him being the suspect or the person accused or whatever. But as of right now, homeboy's in trouble. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. He has a lot to explain, and we will keep you updated as we get more and more evidence and hearings happen, because we want to get to the bottom of this case. But again, due process for all, and he's got his opportunity in court. We'll see what happens. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you follow Nerd Report. Thank you, Lewis, for being here. We'll be live later today. Hope you guys are there as well. Subscribe to him, subscribe here, and make sure you hit that bell alert and leave a comment down below. What are you thinking on this? Do you think he knew the victims? I want to hear your theories down below. Thank you guys so much for watching.